10 minutes after 9 o'clock. We're at 66 this morning. You know, this past weekend in Wellsboro, it was the 80th annual Pennsylvania State Laurel Festival, the 80th annual, and I had the opportunity to meet 26 incredible young ladies from across Pennsylvania, and this morning I have a special guest joining me in studio, one of those young ladies who represented her high school from right here, of course, in our backyard. I'm speaking about Miss Montoursville, Ruby Muse, the second runner-up in the 80th annual Pennsylvania State Laurel Festival. Good morning, Ruby.
Good morning, G.
A pleasure to see you again.
You as well.
Great. So, how was your? Before we get into the Laurel Festival talk, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's learn a little bit about you, Ruby. Give us a little backstory on you, hobbies, siblings, that sort of thing.
Alrighty. So I'm Ruby Muse. I'm going into my senior year at Montoursville Area High School. I'm not known, but I'm a competitive archer. That's something I like to do in my free time. I'm also a drummer, and I do have an older sister who's currently attending Penn State.
Oh, okay.
And so for colleges, I'm looking at University of Pittsburgh, but Penn College is also one of the things I'm currently looking for.
All right, an archer. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
So I started it when I was 8, and it was kind of birthed off the movie Brave and Meredith with the curly hair, red curly hair, the bow, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I want to do that. And so my mom brought me out to an archery range, and I shot for the first time, and I was very bad at it. And my sister was very good at it, so I was a little bit jealous of that.
Sure.
And so after that, I was like, this is so cool. I want to keep doing it. So I've stuck with it since, and I'm still doing it today, which is 9 years later. So
right.
It's very nice. It's
very fun. Can you shoot the apple off the top of somebody's head?
So I've never done it with a real human being, but I have done.
A good thing.
Yeah, I've done it with a styrofoam head, and we set an apple up on top of a styrofoam head, and I went back 20 yards, and I shot the apple right off the head.
Nice, first shot, and you achieved the goal of hitting the apple.
Yep.
Fantastic. Good. So, for those who may not know about the Laurel Festival, schools across the state of Pennsylvania have an opportunity to send a student to participate in the Laurel Festival. Now, every school, I think, has a different means of choosing who is going to represent their school. So, Ruby, how did Montoursville decide to choose you to send you to represent?
I'm pretty sure our staff picked who they'd like to send, and I actually wasn't in school the day they picked. Oh. I was absent, and I came back the next day. They called me down into the office, and I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble, because going to the office is never a good thing. And then they gave me the papers, and were like, we'd like you to represent. We looked at what you're involved with and just your main academic achievements. We'd like it to be you. And so I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I'm down. And so I filled out the paperwork, and then here I am. And
there you are, in beautiful Wellsboro, Pennsylvania. Had you ever been to Wellsboro before?
I have. I've gone with my family to Dickens of a Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Because my family sets up a booth normally for their beef jerky, elk jerky. Okay. And so I've been before, but that was when I was a little bit younger. Very cold, very crowded, so I didn't really get to see Wellsboro as well. But then the Laurel Festival, I got to see it a little bit better, and it is absolutely beautiful there. Yeah. And the community is amazing.
The two biggest events in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania, the Laurel Festival and Dickens of a Christmas. All right, well, Ruby, you don't go anywhere because we're going to talk to you again here in just a couple of minutes. But right now we got some music from Dave Mason, We Just Disagree. And we'll hear more from Ruby and her experience in Wellsboro and the Pennsylvania State Laurel Festival after Dave. Dave Mason, 93.3 WBZD, your hometown radio station. And once again, being joined in studio, we have a very special guest representing the Montoursville Area High School, Miss Montoursville, Ruby Muse, this past weekend in the 80th Annual Pennsylvania State Laurel Festival. So once again, Ruby, welcome to WBZD, and thanks for taking a little part out of your day to come by and speak with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you made mention, Ruby, just a few minutes ago that you are going into your senior year of high school. So let me ask you, going to Wellsboro and the Pennsylvania State Laurel Festival, which I don't want to say is typically, but generally most of the young ladies there are seniors that have graduated and are now moving on to their next step in their careers and their lives. So was there any apprehension knowing that you were going as becoming a senior going to Wellsboro?
Yes, actually, the night before the first day, I went online. I was reading the article by the Sun Gazette of the Cumberland County princesses going in. I read college. I'm like, I don't know how many juniors going into senior year there's going to be. But then we got there on the first morning, and we were all sitting in a circle, getting to know each other, introduce ourselves. And I met a few other juniors going to seniors. I'm like, okay, so I'm not the only one. I'll be okay. And so I was able to get through that. And I don't really feel like there was any, not restriction, but, isolation between the kids going to college and the kids going into their senior year. Everybody was, so inclusive, and we all just got along together. Yeah, I think this year was a record year. I think we had 7 juniors going into seniors in high school this year. So, and you, of course, were one of them. All right, so let's talk about the Laurel Festival in and of itself. Did you have any expectations going in? Did it meet any expectations? So going into it, I didn't really know what to expect because this is my first time ever going to the Laurel Festival. I didn't go in past years to see it, but I wish I did. It was absolutely beautiful and amazing, and the sense of community in Wellsboro was awesome. But going into it, I was like, let's just get through the weekend, enjoy our time there, enjoy the people we're going to be with. And so I went into it with that mindset, and it ended up being way more than I was anticipating. And in the end, I'm glad that I didn't go in with anything set in mind, because in the end, it was, if I did, I might have been disappointed with what I thought of it, and it was way more than I ever could have thought it was going to be. How about that Laurel Festival parade? That was awesome. Being on the float when we were going past all the people, when we started at the high school and we started going down, there was a few people, and there was houses. I know the Queen's family on the route. I saw their family. How could you have missed them? No, the heads, the shirts. And it was funny. Nickel Street Judges, I think is what they're called, When we were going up to the high school, I remember I was talking to Reagan, and she's like, my family's a big Woot family. So we were going past them. I was like, Woot, Woot, as we were going past them. But those were there were scarce families along the route, and then we got to Main Street. And I had seen people set up chairs, but I didn't see how many chairs, and there was a lot of people. I was not expecting that many people. And just the kids hearing them go, a princess, it made my day. And then I heard a little girl go, Anna, from Frozen, and I was like, date made. Nothing could top that. I was so glad to be in that parade. It was such a great experience. That's wonderful. The queens, the Laurel pageant queens, yourself, you ladies are I don't want to say bells of the ball, but you are the most important people in Wellsboro, the Laurel Fest weekend. Hands down the most important people. You got to go to the Grand Canyon. Had you ever been to the Grand Canyon before? The Pennsylvania Grand Canyon, of course. I have. I've gone with my family in the past, and we'd go out to the Lookout and go for the Laurel Fest season. My mother's a huge fan of the Laurel Fest, so she loves seeing it. But this year, I still haven't seen any Laurel, mountain you didn't see any? No, when we went to the Grand Canyon, the guy, Bob, his name was telling us about the canyon, all of that, and he's like, oh, there's someone you leave. I still didn't get to see it. Come to think of it, I don't think I saw any either. That's interesting. So you ended up being part of the top 10 with the Laurel Queen pageant, and you ended up becoming the second runner-up. So excited about that, and tell us what you get. I was very excited about that. I will be honest, I wasn't completely expecting it because I spent the weekend with these girls, and they were amazing. You get to really see their personalities because going into it, you guys told us, be yourselves. And a lot of girls did do that. They were, I feel like, 100% themselves. And going into it, I was like, oh, my gosh. I saw multiple of the candidates. I was like, she's got it in the bag. She's amazing. And so going into the coronation, I was more nervous about walking in than getting top 10, let alone top 3, second runner-up.
Yeah.
And in the end, I did get second runner-up, and second runner-up got me a scholarship for college, even though I'm going to keep a hold of that for the next year,
Sure.
being only a senior.
Sure.
And it also got me, not bragging rights, but the opportunity to say, not only did I participate in the Laurel Festival, but I also got second runner-up, which is really cool.
As a judge now, I don't recall what year I'm into, but it's been a lot of years that I've had the honor and the privilege of being a judge at the Pennsylvania State Laurel Festival. And it's reasons, as you just made mention, all you young ladies are incredible young ladies. You have incredible futures ahead of you. You still have a senior year to go in high school, which I can only imagine is going to be great for you, Ruby. And I want to thank you for stopping in this morning and spending a little time with us here.
Thank you for having me. This is a great experience.
Absolutely. And that is Ruby Muse, Miss Montoursville, representing the Montoursville Area High School from this past weekend and the 80th Annual Pennsylvania State Laurel Festival. Pennsylvania State